How's it going? My name is Brent from Encore PPF and Tint, and today we are going to be bulking the front fender of this BMW M3. This car is from the 90s, and I will put somewhere in the title, it'll be somewhere, the year. I don't know what year it is, but apparently it's a very sought after BMW. So, and if you probably know that, I don't know anything about BMWs. But anyway, I know how to put paint protection film on them. So let me show you how to do this. This is, a little bit interesting because we do have the fender comes down and then it pops out here for the kind of a flare, flares out a little bit for the wheel well. And so we need to fill that in, and we're gonna get this all done in one piece with no relief cuts or anything. Let's go ahead and let me show you how we do this. Now, I did already measure this, so we're on a 24-inch roll, which barely covers by, less than an inch, but it fits great. And then lengthwise, 52 inches in length on a 24-inch roll. And then we're going to be going over these edges here, and oh my gosh, I'm forgetting my own words, my own things that I call stuff. This is crazy. We're going to be wrapping these edges into the engine compartment. These edges will get wrapped just a tiny bit. This will be cut off right on the face here of the fender. These will wrap under. This will be cut off right here, and then this edge will be cut off. There's really not much room when you open this, and I just don't want to deal with that, trying to get that to go in there and then stick. I'm afraid of failure over time. So we're just gonna cut it off right here on the edge. And then this will come up to here, and then we'll be cutting right on the face here, and then around that corner and down. Okay, so I've already gone through, wiped all these edges down with the rubbing alcohol, especially all the ones that we're going to be wrapping, but I also went on these edges here to make sure we get a good bond to this paint on those edges. So every edge has been wiped down with the rubbing alcohol, 70%. I also did into these recesses to make sure that we get a really good adhesion there. Terrific. Well, let's get going on this. So this panel is a little bit interesting. There are some fingers and things that we need to stretch out of this because of this part here, and this fender goes in and then rounds in, and it bows out here in the middle. And so that's going to cause fingers, and we're going to have to stretch those out. So what we want to do though is start back here, and we want to keep this just right at that edge hanging over just a tiny bit so that we're wrapping over that edge, and that makes sure that we have plenty of material to come down here to the bottom, because as I mentioned and as you can see, this is really cutting it close on this 24-inch roll, but it fits just fine. So what I'm going to do first is grab my tack solution, and we are going to tack this into place here. So let's get some tack in there, lay this back on here, make sure that we're going up basically right to over that edge, just barely. Let's get a mist on here, and then let's go ahead and squeegee that up and out. And then let's take the rest of this down. And what we're gonna do is come right down to this body line here, and then we're gonna just let that sit there. Now, let's move on to what we're gonna do next. So what we're going to do is we're gonna come to about here-ish, and then we're gonna stretch this into place. But we wanna get some of this laid down and get it tacked all in here, and then we'll stretch away from that. All right, let's get some mist on there. Make sure we don't have any pre-tacking. And then something, okay, well, let's go ahead and just keep going here. So let's push some of this out, and then we'll get to talking about this stuff up here. You do not want to have this go short when you're stretching it and not wrap over this edge. So keep an eye on that. And then let's go ahead and we can bring this stuff this direction. Great, so right about there, that looks good. Okay, and what we're gonna do is come down to that recess. And then we're gonna just barely come out of that recess. And the reason that we're not going further than this is because we have some fingers here and we want this stretch to get rid of those as well. Now, so something that you can find, or that you'll notice once you get doing paint protection film more, is that if I just go in there and go like that on my first swipe, I am going to pull the material this way as it comes across here, because obviously we're putting some tension on the material while we're squeegeeing, and then that can just create less material in this edge, and you can notice that it'll just keep pulling away. And so that's why I only went halfway for the first one, because now that's starting to stick down a bit, and now we can do that move and take it all the way over that edge. And then right here, I'm gonna go ahead and take that down, and we'll worry about this part later. I really wanna get this stretched into place and stuck down so that we don't end up with any distortions right here in the adhesive from, or like, you know, stretch marks or anything. And so we want to stretch this right now. And now when we're doing this, we need to get rid of all these fingers here, all these fingers here, and we're going to need to stretch, because there is a finger here, as you can see. So we're going to need to stretch up and down a little bit as well. So this is a pretty interesting little stretch. And then we're not so concerned about the water and air that stays in here, because we're going to take care of that in a moment. But let's go ahead, make sure we don't have any pre-tacking, and then we're going to get some tack on this very edge here. And what I want to do is put some tug on this until we get rid of all the fingers. So look at that, that looks great. And then we'll go ahead, wrap this over here just like that, and then I'm going to hold this in place right here with this hand, and then we can go ahead and squeegee out this corner which has the tack solution in it. So don't get too crazy. I mean, the less stretching you can do, the better. We just want to put just enough stretch to get rid of all of the fingers. Okay, and I'm going to just tack that down to the headlight, and now I may not have stretched that enough. We're about to find out. Okay, we're fine, we're fine. Okay, so let's get some tack in here. You really need this to lay down, so if you didn't get enough stretch, let's pop that back up to right there. If you didn't get enough stretch, then just lift it back up and get some more stretch into it. Okay, that looks great, and we're coming all the way around to here. I'm gonna pull this up just to get rid of that mark there. Perfect. Okay, great. And I'm going to hold this stuff down while I squeegee some of this out. Okay, great. And then something that we're gonna need to do right here is give a little bit of relief cut right here like that, so that we can relieve some of the tension this way, so that this part can stay stuck down. So let's get some tack in there, and then we're going to stretch this over here and tack it to this other part here in the front. So I'm gonna hold my finger right there, and then let's squeegee this out. Pull that up a little so that it releases and, you know, is able to feed some extra material into there. Great, so that looks really good. Okay, now let's start working on the rest of this part here and get this out. So let's get some slip solution on there. And then first things first, I want to take this top, and we're going to come back this way away from the area we used tack solution, and then we're going to come this way away from this area that's already been tacked down, and we'll squeegee that stuff out the top here. It wasn't just going out, so sometimes you have to lift up and release the little bit of tacking that's doing on this edge. Okay, great. And then we're going to bring all this down into this recess now. And then we'll come back over to this side and work our way back towards what I call the middle between these two parts that are stuck down. Great. Now let's go ahead and get rid of some of this air and water. So we can lift this up just like that, make sure it's not tacking right there, and then we can push this stuff out. Great. Now let's bring some of this back this way, and then we'll get some more of this out through this area here. Okay. So make sure you get this recess really good. Okay, great. So we're all the way down into that recess now. And then let's go and make that little turn. Okay, and then we need to get all this stuff over this body line here. Great. Okay, now let's go ahead and get a little bit of tension on here to help get rid of some of this. And the other thing that I'm going to go ahead and do, which I don't think I did on the other side, is get rid of some of this excess material here. Okay, just like that. I mean, because this is actually laying down really good. We do have a little bit of pre-tacking due to the fact that there's some solid tension on this. And there's an air pocket or water pocket right there. So I'm gonna pull this back. We'll get some more slip in there. And then we'll let that sit back down and relax, because we don't want to pull back so hard on this that we leave a stretch line right there. So we want this to relax back into place. And then we're going to put a little bit of tension on this way in order to get this stuff, get rid of some of that. But it's not much, just barely enough to kind of pull some fingers this direction instead of going straight down right there. Okay, and so first things first, we'll go ahead and bring this down a little bit further. And let's bring this back a little bit around this edge. Great, so right there looks good. Let's give a little bit of tension. Now I'm going to throw a little bit of tack in here first, and then we're going to put just a little bit of tension on this. So I'm just pulling down this way, just like that. Then I can hold my finger on this corner, and let's get the rest of this out. So because a lot of this up here is slip solution, I'm going to go ahead and take that out across the top there. And then should be mostly all tack down here, and we'll go ahead and push down all the way to the bottom of the fender or the piece of rubber, which is, I'm bumping into that piece of rubber there. Okay. Let's see. Let's go ahead, pull this back and get a little bit more tack in this very edge. I can't tell if it's all tack in there or if there's some soap in there still. Okay, so we're just going down and then holding right at the bottom. So swipe and hold. Great, let's check over here. Make sure that everything is staying down, which it is. Great, we do have some little fingers here, so let's take care of those just really quick here. Those just need to go around the edge just a little bit. I think on the last one on the other fender, I must have pulled up a little bit better or a little bit more, and that allowed me not to have so many little fingers on the edge, but it's not a big deal. I mean, that's totally fine. I just didn't have those on the other side. Okay, so now what we've got here is just, I mean, this actually, I must have squeegeed that down a little bit. So I'm gonna bring that back up to the line, and we're gonna get some more slip in there. Just right up to that body line. That way, if we pull this back and we did make a little bit of a distortion in the adhesive from pulling that back, it's on the body line and it won't be visible at all. Let's get all this pulled back as well. Great. Okay. Okay, the one other thing I want to do is just get rid of a little bit of this excess here. And we're gonna just, I mean, just a very rough cut, right? Just leave ourselves a ton of extra material. Okay, well that'll help us pull on it and everything here if we need to. So everything is looking good all the way to right about here, and then we do have a little bit of a finger here. So we're gonna get all this stuff down. Now we're gonna start by getting some tack in here. And I can see when I'm spraying this up there that we did go up over the edge just a little bit, so don't miss that part. You don't want to be leaving things on that edge. Okay, great. And then we'll take this down just like that. So I just basically, you know, we've got some tension right here, and that's what those shapes are from, the kind of a U shape there, because it's pulling the material up because it's got tension this way. And so I'm just gonna give it a little tug down and get rid of some of that. Okay, and then we'll just go straight down here. And then let's go ahead and work all this stuff down and out. Get some more tack in this. And we're gonna do a swipe and hold right here so that that stays down. Okay, now let's work on this area. All right, so there's a little bit of material here, so we're gonna need to kind of not really pull down on that as much as let it go into that recess first. You don't want to put any tension here until this recess is down really good. Otherwise, you're gonna stretch that tight, and that's not gonna want to sit in there very well. So let's go ahead, get some tack in there. And even when we do put some tension on that, it's gonna be just the slightest amount. So let's go ahead, get this stuff down into that recess, just like this. Great. Because we don't want tension in that recess there. But you can see that there's some extra material here, so we're going to need some at some point. So let's go ahead, put just a little bit of tension on that now, just barely enough to get rid of that U shape that was in there. Great. Okay, and then let's go ahead and get all this stuff brought down. Make sure there's nothing on that angle there, the body line. Okay, and we'll start bringing this down. Okay. Okay, let's work our way down into here now. And it looks like we might need some tack solution right in there. Okay, that's all looking really good. It's continuing to pop up right in there. Let's fix that with some tack. A little slip on the outside. Okay, great. Let's take care of this spot here now. So we'll pull this back a little so we can sneak some tack in there. Put a mist on the outside. And then let's go ahead and push this down. And then around that. Okay, and then let's take this down a little bit and get it away from there. Okay, great. Okay. The other thing I did do, which I put up for this video, I didn't want to have the door open, but I had the door open just a smidgen, you know, just to the first click open. Because that would definitely help with this little finger here. That really wouldn't be a thing if this door had was open a little bit. Okay, but let's get some tack in here. Just means we're gonna have to swipe and hold right there, because this door is sticking out just a little bit proud of the fender. Okay, so let's start taking this stuff down now. And then this stuff I'm gonna take over like that. Great. Okay, and then we'll take this all the way down. You can bring this stuff towards the front now and just take it all the way down like this. Okay, great. So it's popping up just a tiny bit in this recess, and that's fine. There's not much we're going to be able to do about that. Well, let's see if we can get a little tack in there, but there is some tension on that, right? Just a tiniest bit. So we don't know that we're going to be able to get that to stay down right now until we trim this, and then it'll go down for sure. But let's put a little tack in there, and then I'm just pushing really hard with my finger there. All right, so we're looking great. We're all the way down to the bottom here. This looks good. We do need to get this stuff down. Make sure that's on the outside. Okay. And then we'll just, now that we've got some tack in there, let's wrap these around just a tiny bit. Swipe and hold on this one to get that down. Great. Okay. There's a run in the paint. I remember that little bump in the paint right there. That just concerned me. I left water in there. I was like, oh, you're so dumb, but it's not. Okay. All right, so everything is down and looking really good. So what we're going to do now is start trimming this out. Okay. Great. So I'm just wiping this down first. Being real gentle with the cloth here and just cleaning everything off so that I can take a look at this and make sure that we didn't leave any water, because it's very easy to leave water in these parts right here, and if you do, there'll be a silver bubble when it dries, because obviously that's not just going to lay down flat real easy by itself, because it's got that recess in there and just a little bit of tension on it. Okay, great. That feels fantastic. Okay, awesome. Let's see, I might have a little bit of water right there. Let me check that. Yeah, just a tiny bit. So that is gonna dry out. You probably can't see that on camera. There's just a tiny bit of water right there. I'm not worried about that. Okay, right here we have just a little bit of air on this very edge, so I'm going to pull that back just a tiny bit, and then we'll go ahead and put that back down. Okay. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and start trimming this out now. Got our Olfa knife here. I'm going to go ahead and get myself one blade on that. All right, I'm going to, let's see, since the car's already in the air, let's go ahead and trim this first. So now if you look back in there, this material can wrap around and leave about 1/4 inch, or it can wrap in about 1/4 inch. So we're going to cut this off, leaving about 1/4 inch. I'm trying not to be too long. I prefer it to be come up short than too long, because then we'll be trimming this back in there, and some of this wraps. Hang on real quick, let me cut this. I'm using my finger as like my edge there. That gets a little bit wider down there, so we can bring this out just a little bit more, using my finger as my guide to keep this nice and straight. And we can go ahead and take that out. Now, what was I saying here? Oh, this wraps, curls. This has a complete curl and goes back in. So it makes a U-turn right there, whereas this just turns a 90 and goes back. So keep that in mind, because it's going to be hard to trim in there if you make that too long. It's hanging over any edge in there. Okay. So my pointer finger, okay, just getting a little long, because I'm getting right to that edge. My pointer finger is running on the body of the car to help keep me nice and straight. Okay, great. Take care of this part as well, and maybe even down this door. Okay, so we're going to be coming, let's see, where does this end? So just right down in that recess. So we're gonna go ahead, oh, you know what? Oh, there we go. Okay, I thought there wasn't enough blades in this. Let's see, so we're gonna come right across this bottom edge, and then we'll make a little, oops, that didn't turn like I wanted to. I'm gonna make a little turn in that, so we don't have a real sharp edge right there. And then let's go ahead and we'll bring this across. And then once we get to here, I'm going to come up just a tiny bit at a little bit of an angle this way to help with the ease of laying that down. Okay, great. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and trim this part here. And so this part you can leave a little long here. Oops. You guys got to be paying attention. All right, so this here is just like a 45 on this edge is what I'm gonna do. Just over that edge, just the slightest. Like that. We'll deal with this part that way later. And then this part will come over and give yourself not a 1/4 of an inch. Let's see how much we end up doing here. So more than 1/8 or so. You should be able to wrap this around and stick it to the side of the fender. It does just contour and then go straight in. Okay, let's keep a little tension on this so it cuts nice and easy. Okay, and so let's see, this part here, this can also go in just a little ways. Okay, like that. All right. Now, let's see here. So what I'm gonna do here, first I'm gonna go ahead and get you a little bit closer. You can see that's coming up just a tiny bit on that corner. So we're gonna get some tack in here. I'm going to push this down. Let's see, the other side, this little indent here, it kind of indents a little bit from here to here. It drops back in, and the other side was like more pronounced. And so I went ahead and just cut along this edge because it was just too much of a recess there to get anything to grab a hold of that. But it looks like on this side we're gonna be all right. Okay, so I'm gonna start right here and we'll come over. We'll make our turn. We'll come up this section here. And then once we get up to an area where this is hanging off, we'll keep going up. And then we're going to go back that direction just a little bit because we don't want to wrap that in there and have it hanging over the edge, this side of the edge anyway. Okay. Great. Now we'll pick up where we left off, which is right here. We'll stay above the black rubber there. Getting a little bit of a squeak. Just make sure when you're getting a squeak that you're on the lighter side of the squeak, because the more pressure side of that squeak is cutting into the paint. So okay, all we're trying to do is score it. We're definitely not trying to cut through the material. Great. Okay, we'll go ahead and push this down for these little couple areas that aren't fully stuck down. Okay, looking really good. Go ahead and try that edge out. Now just know right here too, you could just cut right on the edge, and that seems like it'd be good too. I just really want that to go back in there a little bit and get that front edge that's going to be fairly vulnerable to the rock chips. I mean, since we're in here and we're doing it, do it all the way. But this is going to be much more tedious getting that to stick back in there and then getting some heat on it to heat seal it. So now let's go ahead, and there is going to be tension right here, which we're going to see what happens with that. Seems like it should be fine. So I'm just kind of wrapping this over little by little with this towel here. Okay, that's looking really good. There is some moisture in that part. Let's see if we can get some of that dried out. And for pushing this area down, something that can work really good in this little space will be this here, because you can get some pressure on it. And it also, the material, this is going to slide really well on the material. I'm leaving some air right here, and I can't quite decide if that's, you know, some kind of imperfection in the paint, or if I'm actually really leaving air there. So let's get another squeegee here and really try to get some pressure on that and get it pushed out. Yeah, okay. This really is going to need to dry a bit before we're going to be able to get this to really stick down way back in there. So, and we don't want to stick it down and leave air on this, or air or water on this front edge. So I am just going to go ahead and let that stay popped up, and then we'll let that dry out a bit and we'll come back to that. Okay, and this stuff you can just wrap around and get some good pressure on there with this tool here. It's a little bit more difficult in this rounded part because it's, you know, doesn't want to make full contact all the way around. All right, you can see, I don't know if you can see that, there's a chip, there was a chip there that got painted in, and a couple right there. So that'll definitely should help that corner. Let's take care of this coming down the door here, or next to the door. So we're popping up here and here, which is pretty much expected. Okay, and actually I'm just gonna bring this up to like here. I'm gonna start here, work my way down, and then once we get this down, I'll cut here and come down to there. So it's right to that edge. I don't know if you can hear the squeak over the air conditioning. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to work my way up from where we left off here. Okay, let's go and bring this up now. Great, stick that to the door. We'll get some tack solution. Get in this full edge. All right, let's go ahead and push these areas they were popping up a little bit down, and then just give this whole area, this whole side, a little bit of pressure on it. Great. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my towel here, dry that edge out a bit so I can see what it's looking like. Because when this, after you dry that out, this edge should be silver anywhere where it's not stuck down. And everything's looking really good there. Fantastic. And I will just continue to keep an eye right there until I'm heat sealing, you know, so up until the heat sealing process, I'll just keep an eye right there, make sure that doesn't pop up. Although, because we're off of the door now, I don't anticipate that it will. Okay. So we are coming up, just the material is coming up a little bit right here. So let's go ahead and wrap that on first. So I'm not trying to get any moisture on the back side. I just want to get a little mist on the top surface here so we can, the squeegee will go over this. And then let's go ahead and make sure that that's over that edge. Great. Now we will go ahead and trim across here and then down to this point. So right to this edge. Coming across the top. Making a turn here. Practice, make sure you're practicing. If you're practicing trimming paint protection film with both hands over all kinds of things, you know, as far as like contours, recesses, dips. Okay, because it's ambidextrous is super important. Okay, let's go ahead and put this away before this film breaks loose and I stab myself in the face. Okay, all this looks like it's stuck down quite well, so I'm just going to go over it with the towel here, dry the edge out really well. All right. Okay, so now, you know, this is important that you get enough stretch into this, because you want this to be able to wrap over that edge. The other side, I left some minor fingers here, and so it was a little bit more difficult to push down right here. I mean, I totally got it, but you know, by giving it this little bit of extra stretch where you can see it's basically already kind of, it's got some tension on it wanting to roll over that. That makes it so much easier. So let's go ahead, let's take a look at the back side, less than 1/4 of an inch, and let's go ahead and trim this little bit of extra off here. And keeping that same amount, we'll go ahead and take this all the way back until we get right to a point there. Boom. Nailed it. All right. A little bit of tack solution in here. All right. I don't like to wrap these in back there with so much hanging over dry. I like to make sure that those are wet with tack solution before I start wrapping these in. We can go ahead and start back here. And just make sure that you're getting this edge really good. We want not to leave any water or anything, any tack solution in there. Okay. Just chomping this over. And then we'll come back and get it the rest of the way down. Right now I'm just trying to get over that edge really well. And then down here, I'm gonna start back this way because we don't wanna push this down and then somehow create a finger on this corner. So we wanna go ahead and push that down like that and then keep working back this way. Okay, I'll go ahead and put this over here and we'll slide chomp this. And then we'll come to this corner and slide chomp back the other direction. Terrific, let's dry that off. And I can feel some ripples in there. when the towel was going across there, and I just need to double check and make sure that that's in the paint. So there's another one right here. Okay, and it is in the paint, so. But that's how you can tell if you're leaving moisture in those edges over this. You know, if you run towel over it and you feel like ripples, then you know there's something underneath there, or I mean, there's something going on. And it happens to be it's nothing underneath there. I mean, it's paint under there. All right, let's take care of this wheel well. Alrighty, look at that. I've got a tiny little air pocket right on this very edge. Let's go ahead and push that out. Perfect. You know, always make sure you're scanning your work, right? That way, it's easy to push that stuff out now, but it wouldn't be easy later. It'd be a needle later. All right. Okay, let's get tack solution in here. Okay, then we'll go ahead. I like to start on these ends and then work my way up. Or away from them anyway, whether that's up or sideways, whatever it is, I want to work away from there. Okay, so let's go ahead and just start rounding that edge. And then we can kind of work away from this area too, because you can get a little bit of extra material built up around these type of areas because it dipped in there and then came out here, so you can get a little extra material there. And by working away from those areas in both directions, you can help push any of that little extra material this way and that way. It's very minor, but you don't want to have a bunched up some material right here that you're trying to figure out what to do with. Okay, so I've rolled it over that edge like this first. And then we're taking this up behind. Okay, and then we'll go the rest of the way here. And then let's just make sure that we got everything off this edge and we're not leaving anything behind. There is the tiniest, and I don't know that there's anything we're going to be able to do about it, because this is actually like some body work here that somebody did, and they left a little ridge that drops in right here, so that's as good as that's going to get. Okay, we can wrap this stuff up behind, and then over here I want to come down and start down here first. Let's get that around, and then we'll work our way up towards the middle. Okay, that it just creased over, kinked over a little bit on itself, so I went ahead and just lifted it back up and then pushed it back down. Oh, that's going to be a terrible angle with this GoPro on my head because of these lights back here. Oh well, you get the idea. All right, so all that's dried off now, that edge anyway. All right, terrific. Well, that's the process of installing paint protection film. Let's see here. All right, terrific. Well, that's the process of installing paint protection film on this Fender here. So I will come back, we'll get some footage after this outro of me heat sealing these edges, but I'm gonna go ahead and say my goodbyes now, and then you can watch that part if you're so inclined to do so. Great, well, we got that on there. Everything is trimmed, wrapped, tucked, everything's in place. And now all we're gonna have to do is wait for this to dry so we can roll this around and then heat seal everything. So great, I appreciate you guys taking a look at this. If you found anything useful or helpful, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, let's go ahead and heat seal these edges. So this has been sitting overnight, which isn't necessary, but it's just the way that it's worked out with this car. So that's plenty of time then for these edges to dry up, and let's go ahead and put some heat on them, push them down, and then get this thing down the road. Or you know, push it down the road. All right, so just pick a point and then start there and work your way around. You want to be very methodical about this because you don't want to miss any areas. All right, so we came around, now we'll come across this bottom. If we feel that the material is getting a little sticky to our thumb, then we want to go ahead and get the heat away from there, because that's getting the film a little too hot. And then if you notice any edges sticking up, you'll want to go ahead and push those down first. Like I can see that this whole edge here is silver, so I'm going to go ahead and roll that over first, and then we can come back with the heat. And what that allows is it allows the paint protection film to heat evenly. If those edges are popping up, they're going to take the heat differently, and they're going to absorb much more of the heat because they can't transfer it to the body. All right, so we're getting all this stuff heated up and pushed down. Great. That's all wrapped in there. That looks fantastic. We're really just kind of going for these edges here that that long part, well, we'll put some heat on it anyway. I'm gonna have to drop it down a little bit though, but let's go ahead and get this part pushed down. All right, so let's get that part pushed in, and then let's start rolling this around this edge now that it's good and dry. And just little by little. Now it's starting to get a ways back in there where it's getting hard to reach with my fingers, so I am gonna go ahead and get this tool out, and we'll get some more pressure on the edge of that material. Get that laid down nicely. All right, and then let's get some heat in there on this edge. And then we'll push that down again. Great, and then a final press on all this. All right, fantastic. And then let's work around the bottom here. Great. Okay, that's all we needed to get done there. So, yep, that's the process of installing paint protection film on this vehicle. Now, I did say that this is from the 90s. It's not. It's from the 80s. It's a 1988 BMW M3. So it's the, oh, I'm gonna mess it up now. It's the E30 body style, E30 series, or I don't know how that works with BMWs, what that's called, but something with the E30. All right, terrific. Well, I appreciate you taking a look at that, and then correct me if I was wrong on that, or it'll be in the title correct because I have it written down somewhere. All right, well, thank you guys for taking a look at this video. If you found something helpful, please give the video a thumbs up. Just takes a second. I would really appreciate it, and it helps the channel out. And then subscribe if you'd like to see some more of this content. We're putting out videos every week, at minimum once a week on Sundays. I appreciate you guys taking a look, and I'll see you on the next one.